All right, welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast. Fitness, food, and freedom. That's what we're all about here. And we're going through some details on when it's time to use a personal trainer, how you should utilize a personal trainer, why it's important to have someone to guide you along in certain points, and then how to shop for a trainer and what we view our roles as a trainer and how we see ourselves in our current clients' lives and hopefully help others find the right personal trainer for themselves if they're in the market for one, which not everybody has to be either. Before we get to that, Menchie's got some news.
British Medical Journal today reported a study on possible association between higher consumption of sugary drinks and increased risk of cancer.
Sounds like fake news to me.
I was kind of stoked that this came out into the world today. It says possible. I know, so people are probably going to be flack, oh, it's possible, blah, blah, blah. They need to have a bigger, study base and people, but they did it with about 100,000 people over in Europe, and it showed that consumption of 100 milliliters per day increased the overall risk of cancer by 18%. And this means anything from juices, sugar sweetened beverages, teas, sugar in your coffee, and biggest one overall is soda is absolutely bad. They also did study artificially sweetened, so diet beverages, and that showed no real increase risk of cancers. So basically what they were predicting is that sugar is a very big cause, an increaser of cancer, which me and you and a lot of the people in our industry have known for years that sugar actually upregulates a lot of processes in the body and causes crazy amounts of growth and tumor growth. And science shows tumors actually feed off of the metabolic process of glycolysis, which is powered by glucose. And that was out there. So people who are drinking a lot of soda or sugary drinks, this is it. This is what's coming to the end. These companies are no longer able to get away with bogus studies about saying fat's bad and sugar's good. I think it's come down to the line. They're going to basically say these things are cancer-causing foods, just like cigarettes.
I think it is important as we start to unravel things and fall down that rabbit hole and kind of see the bigger picture more accurately. I think it's really important to understand that it's not the sugar itself that's causing cancer necessarily, but it's causing that cancer to grow and make it grow faster. And now it's gone from just the first stage of cancer is evidence of dysplasia, where the cells break apart and then they start to mutate and replicate, yada, yada, yada. But when you've gotten that little, we'll call it like a small little spark, now all that sugar that you're consuming is going to help fuel that fire and help that grow and get out of control. So it went from being a benign growth to now full blown cancerous cells. And I remember reading in Dr. Gundry's book, The Longevity Paradox, about how it has to do with kind of the excess amount of sugars, right? Like the devil's in the dose. And that's why we can talk so generally in this podcast about sugars and being a bad thing because of just how much sugars people are eating on a regular basis. Hopefully 100 years down the line, this podcast will be outdated and people will be like, nobody eats sugar. Well, that's not bad, But if everyone just ate like fruit when it was in season that was locally grown around them, they didn't have it like all the time. They're like a kid at the candy store and all they eat is fruit, all the good tasting stuff. Then this would be a non-issue. But because you have so much excess sugars floating around, and then you have what's called mTOR activated, that's basically just cell growth. It's kind of natural. Insulin like growth factor works in conjunction with it. It sends signals to all the cells to go ahead, eat up. It's time to grow. And we go through this cycle in a yearly cycle. We go through a growth period in the warmer months, and then we regress in the winter months, just like nature. And our bodies kind of want to do the same. So it's normal for your body to grow. But if we're in a 365-day growth cycle with mTOR and IGF-1 activated, and you have excess sugars, now you're letting those cancer cells grow, and you're opening yourselves up for some bad stuff down the line.
Right.
So,
And with all of that, the biggest thing people realize is it's not the sugar itself. It's the glucose that makes up the sugar. Tumors metabolize that for energy, and then they create this very basically the tumor creates its own antioxidant defense system by using glycolytic intermediates, aka particles from glucose breakdown, to basically feed their cells and replicate DNA. So where it's not solely sugars at fault for like creating tumors and causing cancers, it's like feeding this thing tenfold. So you're just encouraging the cancer to grow more,
yeah.
which a lot of people don't get. People think, oh well, everything causes cancer nowadays.
That's because
But I think
they get overwhelmed and they don't even try to
right.
think anymore.
And yes, a lot of things do, but diet is probably one of the biggest factors that can help. Even if you are diagnosed with cancer and you're on treatments, like a good solid diet program goes a long way. A lot of books and research has shown that certain dietary restrictions and additives can very help, and others are not. So if you're possibly, say you have genetic history of cancer in your family, is it really smart to be drinking soda every week or regularly? No, probably not. Or you're just going to aid to the storage. If you don't have cancer, aid to the storage of fat, which is stored everywhere in the body. Blood sugar levels go up, inflammatory markers go up, and that can increase to genetic mutations in your body. So,
And I think
I mean,
kind of back to your big point that you were making in the beginning there is just I think one thing that is important is um, getting multiple sources and researching something, like asking the question even to just Google to just see what you read, because there's so much misinformation out there and there's so many ways to get misguided conveniently, right? Um, that you can't just trust one source, unfortunately, because you'll see things like on packages, right? Now that you would read this article, you would probably think that you should walk around, you should buy things that say sugar free. But now you have to look into that even more, because if it says sugar free, what else is in there, right? Like, what are they trying to hide? And it's usually artificial sweeteners or just artificial ingredients in general, or there'll be a ton of saturated fats or trans fats. So I just think taking a person who's just kind of diving into this world out of nowhere, it's totally overwhelming.
oh, and it's very confusing. As we've gone through many years of education, we know it's not easy, and I think that's where a lot of these companies can kind of get around the boat and be like, oh, well, we kind of know that they're not going to be pretty much efficient in human cellular metabolism. We can get away with putting stuff on. And then you get to these articles and it's like, what is going on? People are like astounded. They're like, I didn't know about this food, that food, what it causes. And that's huge. And I think the big takeaway about this, before we kind of stem into the next realm we're going to talk about, no sugar drinks, no drinks at all, no diet drinks. Just drink water. Drink lemon with water. That's the big I think. And then kind of segue into the next way. Well, the biggest thing is when people want to have questions, like who do they turn to? Where do you turn? what if to turn. And I know we're going to talk about, how as a client or a potential client, how to start that off, or where to start looking for that information and know that you're going to get the best quality and someone's going to lead you down the right path.
Yeah. And let's start with something fun. Let's talk a little bit about kind of why you got into personal training and how you view yourself in your current clients' lives in terms of what services you provide and um, what action you do to aid them in their life.
For my clients, I first I got to be the biggest motivator for them. I have to be the person that when they come in the gym, that they're looking at someone who's energetic, upbeat, ready to take on the day. That's where I've kind of developed over the years what I need to do or put out first, so people can actually get this sense of, all right, this is what I'm here to do. We got to do this, moving on. And he's always at this point and he's always there. How do I set that model for other people to want to come in, exercise each day, be healthy, eat? I think the next biggest avenue for my clients is I'm their resource. I'm their person that if they read an article like I read tonight, they come ask questions. If they have this crazy thing and there's a couple studies, they're going to ask me. I'll review everything. I'll go read everything, give you my feedback, and then as guidance, what do they need? Do they need to tweak some nutritional stuff? Do they need to be on a completely different nutrition plan? How can I get them to their goals and to be my goal for them is to be the healthiest they can be? How can I get them there safely and sustain that?
So essentially, along with writing the program ahead of time, conducting the workout that includes warm up to movement prep to the actual meat and potatoes of the workout to cool down and maybe some stretching, but you're also going to be there to help motivate them, and you're going to be there to be like their health and fitness liaison, just answer any questions or be there for um, any guidance they may need.
Right. And years ago, I probably would have said, oh, the program's the biggest thing. We're going to develop this and that. But now I know that they're there with me for an hour on that program. What are they doing the rest of the time when they don't see me? So that's where I really need to get in with them of, okay, how's the nutrition going? How's the off day workouts going? How's everything else going in their lives, so I can get a sense of where I need to kind of guide this ship. Because at the end of the day, I think as personal trainers, we're more or less steering our clients to the direction that we want them to go and they want to go. But I think they kind of hinge on us the most for that guidance, and they're showing up and we're saying, hey, you're doing 15 reps of this and 15 reps of that, and this is why we're going to get there. But how's everything else going? Because if we do these 15 reps, but everything else isn't in place, we're not really going anywhere. So that's the biggest important thing to me.
It's just progression and regression.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
And creating that behavior, that environment of choosing the right behaviors, and this is why we do certain things.
So you're always like explaining stuff what along the way. Like even if like obviously new clients, you're always explaining things, but like maybe not everything, but you're explaining kind of some of the decision or making you're making or kind of the thought process behind why they need to cut out lectins this week or something. Like you're kind of coaching them along, but then also explaining the background to it. Okay, nice.
And it's just like you said, I think it was maybe last season, or you've said it a couple of times. It's just like going to a doctor. You go to a doctor, get medical advice. I think a lot of clientels and people who are looking for assessment are coming to us for expert advice and looking to get the best quality advice and steer them in the right direction, because a lot of people don't really know what's right or wrong, what's good and bad. And I think explanations are the best way to really build that connection with your clients. So you're not just saying, all right, you shouldn't eat sugar, but really go and explain what sugar can do on the body, what that load of sugar can do at every single process, at the brain, at the heart, at the liver, at the muscles, at the digestive system, all ends. So they kind of know that, oh, he's not just saying this going by what they recommend or what guidelines say. No, he's breaking it down. He knows what he's talking about. It builds that rapport back and forth even stronger. Like even
I mean, I totally agree, and I totally do that case by
correct.
case because I think there's certain people that you can overwhelm with too much information, and it's definitely something that is just individual based. I mean, you get the people who come in from day one; they're already inquisitory about everything, and they want to know every little nuance, and it's wonderful. And you just see the hunger for knowledge. And there's other people who are already overwhelmed by making two different
Right.
life changes, and they can't fathom how they're going to take on any more. So, um, but I do agree with you. Like at the basic level, the job of the trainer, we can agree on a couple things. Kind of running the workout of the day, but also monitoring the background of their other 167 hours of the week. Because I think that's so important. I think right off the bat, that's one thing that puts puts what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of separates the wheat from the chaff, the wheat from the chaff, because you get some trainers, and we'll just say inexperienced younger trainers. I myself feel like I was even there, obviously, for the first couple, whatever months, years,
I think we
whatever people
all
want
are
to
at
say.
some point.
Yeah, I think everyone had to get there, had a progression in their own training. And I think in the beginning, it was really about just running the workout and teaching them workouts and teaching them about how to move their body and different muscle groups and how to build muscle or how to burn fat. And it all was just workout related and gym related. And then um, it's important to recognize when someone is going to go that extra mile, to even just ask a question about what you're doing in your off time, what you're eating that day, or what you ate last night for dinner, or what you did over the weekend for activity, or what you're planning for your own workouts this week. Those are questions that should really stand out to you when shopping for a personal trainer, because you're finding someone who really cares about you as an individual. They care about getting you the results that you want and you came to them for. And being, they're not trying to be judgmental, where I feel like I get that sort of vibe from people when I'm so inquisitory of them in the beginning. But when I first meet somebody, I'm trying to find out every little detail of the person in terms of their health and wellness, because that's the best way I can then find where I
Yeah.
can help them. So I think it's important being a good client as well, and recognizing that as, wow, this person's actually going the extra mile, and understanding, or to understand this stuff to then help me in my off time, and not only just give me the fish but teach me how to fish. And I think that's really important. And I think a lot of people in general get turned off by those questions because they get defensive, they get sort of
Yeah.
shielded and guarded because they're afraid of saying, like, well, I went and had a cookie this weekend. Say, okay, I'm not judging you. Like, I had so many people who are like, well, you're gonna be mad. I'm like, I'm not mad. I don't give a shit. Like, in all honesty, like, I'm happy with my life. Like, I'm not mad. I'm just like, how can I
Right.
help you now? That's what I'm trying to calculate. Is it, do I need to tell, do we need to have the talk of, finding other things to substitute for that fix, that chocolate craving or that sweet craving that you need post dinner? Do we need to talk about, uh, you know, adding in vegetables more so that you can make up for all the times you binge on the weekends? Or is it okay to live a little and have a cookie at a 3-year-old's birthday party that you went to, and it's your third cookie you've had this year? You know what I mean? So it's just all um, case by case. My point, it's just all case by case, and the best way that a trainer can help you is getting the true
Right.
facts. So there's no reason to lie, no reason to hide the real information. And if you do get a really judgmental or rude response back from a trainer, then that
Correct.
person isn't for you.
We're as trainers, we're trying to get a snapshot of your past history of, okay, you wanted to do lose weight or gain muscle or whatever your goal is, but you're not getting there. How do we get you there? And I know we have to ask these bad questions. And I, I guess we kind of come across a lot of traders come across as, oh, they're going to be, they're going to come down and crack hard on me. And sometimes I do think it's warranted that you not yell and stuff, but you give the person a kind of reminder of why they started, where their direction is, where their road's going toward their goals. And if the behavior happened. So what? It's in the past. You can't change it. But going forward, recognize that next situation that this might come up and say, is this gonna lead me one step closer to my goal, or is this gonna put me back, or where is this gonna lead me? So
Or is it not going to do anything?
correct.
Right.
So have them understand that their decisions can impact what they actually want. Because me sitting there and be like, that cookie or donut was not a good move, like you're now unhealthier, that doesn't do anything for my clients. Now, I will 100% joke with other people and other trainers that,
Oh,
like, I'm going to be
totally.
that
Yeah.
big guy that, oh, if I'm sitting there and you're eating like something, I'm going to like judging you. It's like, no, I care
Um,
about at the end of the day for people. And this is where I maybe get a little judgmental is their overall health. I don't think it's great when I see people eating poor quality foods out there because I know that could lead to disease and lead to them having a shorter life and not enjoying life. That's just how I view it, but I can't, be judgmental, be like, oh, that person's bad. This is not good. But when people definitely sit down, it's just making them realize what they want and what they're going to get out of this whole process of fitness that extends from being in a gym to in a kitchen to sleeping at night.
yeah, I think it's important for it to feel like it's a partnership. It's a two-way street. The personal trainer is there guiding you, but you're also guiding the personal trainer. So as much as they're getting and giving you information, you need to also be getting information from them, as well as also obviously giving information by answering the questions. But if you don't feel like you're understanding why they're asking all these questions, well, simply just ask. But they should be connecting the dots for you. They should be saying like, well, the reason I'm asking this and this and this is because whatever. Like I know that you have a week trip coming up, and I know that you're not going to be able to work out for 5 days. So that's why I'm asking all these questions now, because I want you to make really good habits in this next week before your trip, so that when you come back, we won't really even have taken a step back from your progress. So I think it is important, like Menchie said, it's just kind of like having that explanation as to why behind getting all that information out of you. So, um,
And there are clients that want to hear very strict answers. There are clients that they ask me, if I want to cut down, should I be eating these carbohydrates? And I'll say either simple yes or no. I try not to make a lot of gray areas in this realm because I know a lot of gray area already exists. So for someone coming in for sound, solid advice, don't
yeah,
create more gray areas. Like, we're going to give you guidelines. You go follow these, and we reassess. And you're taking 2 steps to where you want to be. We're going to keep going. And some people, I've had clients recently that just, I have them on fasting, you know, manipulating carbs on each day differently, different intakes, and they've done great. They've lost over almost 20 pounds. They've gotten in shape. They're much better. They feel better. And it's
What are some other roles that you've had to play with some of your other clients, other than ones we've already talked about?
Oh, the other role I have to say is I have to be the pusher. I have to be the one who who takes people and say, "Hey, you're going to do this. This is not going to be fun whatsoever. This is probably not going to enjoy it, but you're going to have to do this."
Will you preface it like that? That's how
Oh,
you'll
oh
introduce it?
yeah, and that's what I'll say to people. So it's not. I don't really want to be like, "Oh, well, this is what's going to do, and you're going to feel this." I'm like, "This is not going to be the best thing right now, but do this multiple times. You're going to get better. These are probably going to be the best things for your heart, for your muscles, for your life 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So that's why I'm going to have you do this right now."
See, I typically won't tell them beforehand until we're already doing it or in it. Like I'll maybe tell them the agenda for the day or the focus of the day, like before we get started, if they ask. Otherwise, we're just going. And if it's going to be something that sucks, I don't even say it, right? Like it might be their first time, and this is a great example. The barbell step up. Those who have done the barbell step up know that you do it because you need to. You don't do it because you enjoy it. Um, and and I get people there, and we do like a light round, and then we work up to our first working weight, and then we go pair it with something else. Might just be some whatever. We come back, and they're like, the first time they do them, they're like, "These suck, don't they?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's really no silver lining with this one." But I don't want to say because I don't know what their preconceived notion is anyway, right? So I don't want
True.
to set them. I don't want to steer them left or right or good or bad, right? So I'm not going to say like this is going to suck or this is going to be great because I want them to just look at it as what it is. It just is what it is. Just another day. It's just another workout. Just another set. Just another rep. That's all it is. There's no negative. There's no bad. It
Then
is.
I have
That's
to
it.
let me narrow down what I said. Certain exercise protocols, I will say that something because you make a good point. I'm not going to be like, "Hey, we're bench pressing today. This is what it's going to feel like." No, I need you to
But
feel
like,
your
but I know what you mean. But like a 5 minute fan bike,
something
you'd
like
be like,
that,
"This is
or
gonna fucking suck."
right, a
Yeah,
round of a
right,
30-30,
right.
or just so people get a heads up. Like, this is what you want to feel and should feel. So don't hold much back. But
So you're talking about probably threshold training.
a little
You're
more,
probably
yes,
literally talking about that mental side of it, which is
correct.
all what Think Fitness Life is all about. People, mindset, exercise, nutrition, right? So what Mitch is talking about basically is prefacing somebody for a workout a part of a workout, right? Or maybe it's the whole workout that is going to challenge you mentally and physically. You're gonna hit walls. You're gonna stop. It's gonna hurt. You have to put the weight down. You have to catch your breath. You have to wipe your face off. You're gonna have to grab a sip of water. All those are little avoidance pieces to the pain, to the work. But it's usually something done under time that you have to just keep going. You have to keep failing and keep getting back on that horse or whatever. You have to just keep pushing through those walls, and that is a really good point. And now you make me want to retract my statement. So no, but it's good because I think there are times where you let it be, but there's definitely times where you have to preface with what they're going to be doing. Whatever you may be doing. When you're trying to get them to go through something and you anticipate them hitting a wall or having trouble with it, like I want you to push the sled, as far as long as you can for 5 minutes. It's gonna suck. You're gonna need to take breaths. Just worry about your exhales, and you coach them up before you need to coach them in the moment because in the moment is a lot tougher when you're basically it's game time at that point. So I think that's a really good point, and I think that's another good way to spot a trainer is kind of their introductory before you do something. But that was a little bit more nuanced, and I would say that I would just say put that kind of in the how category of how a personal trainer is effective in in a lot of ways. There are things that we have to do that we're going to observe how you respond to it without you knowing what we're looking at. So
Right.
we'd call it like a single blind study, essentially. So there might be times that we have to leave you in the dark,
Totally.
but that doesn't mean that a trainer can't explain what they're doing
No,
afterwards.
I think afterwards is probably the best. Sometimes people will ask me, say it's a deadlift, they'll ask me beforehand, what should I feel? And I won't answer that because then they're just sometimes, like you said, people just reiterate what I said. I would say, no, I want you to tell me what you're feeling because I know what you're going to be feeling. I know what you should be feeling and shouldn't be, but I want to know what your body's telling me because if you do an exercise and you're not even feeling it where I need you to with certain muscles, I know that I have to go in and reposition or do different work or activate different neural pathways to get you to feel the right thing. And that's another aspect of training that I bring
And what
is
and what Mitch is referring to, or excuse me, what you're referring to, is like the three domains or three levels of learning, where you're cognitive, you're associative, and then you're autonomous. And I think that's kind of sums up why there are certain things that won't be explained, or other things that will be explained at a later date, essentially.
but at the end of
Um,
everything, I do firmly believe a trainer should explain the why, the how, what the purpose is, how this fits into their individualized program and their needs.
if they want to know,
Correct.
sometimes I think people just want to know what did we do that
Yeah.
for? What is this working?
Yeah.
And once they know what it's working, they can kind of start to piece it together. Like, oh, this is working my core, and he said that we're going to be working on lower body hinging and core work today. So okay, this makes sense. Um,
Sometimes I do that
but yeah,
anyways. I sometimes info dump on people and give them a little overload. And I've actually found now this is there might be research out there, but kind of through my own, like if you overload some people enough, it actually shuts down that they're ultra concentrated on certain things that you giving them so much information actually allows them to just get up and kind of move and flow fluidly because they're not trying to overthink about mechanics or this and that. So that's another tactic I've used
I,
to kind of get
I
people.
thought that I thought they were just getting up and moving because they were done hearing me rant.
It could be that too. But sometimes
That's good.
what's cool about those is sometimes those are the people that maybe they don't feel like they want to hear it then, but they always come back and they're like, oh, that was really good. I got something out. I felt better after that. I did that.
Mm.
Maybe a correlation, maybe not, but whatever it is, that might be better than just saying, do this, how this feel, do that, how this feel, and just getting rudimentary just feedback rather just being, I'm going to
Yeah.
overload your system. So your system really can't think. And I'm going to be doing your thinking and your directing for this next 60 minutes. And then I can let your system take back over.
Yeah. 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 All right. Let's talk a little bit about um, how one should use a personal trainer. And I think this is really, really individual based, because you have some people who it just ranges. You have some people who use a personal trainer um, as a touch and go to meet with once every 2 months or 3 months as just check ins. Maybe have their mobility assessed, maybe a certain movement pattern in a lift assessed, and given feedback and adjustments and on their way for the next 2 3 months. And then you have the people who they are high functioning, highly productive. They have a steady flow of revenue, so they actually see a higher value in preserving their time. So their their access to resources for affording a trainer is simple to them, and they want to just get back their time. So they want someone to just be there, ready, do the programming, give them the information they need to, and get their workout and go. And they want somebody for 5 times a week. So I think that's really individual based, and it's a really wide spectrum of how someone should use a personal trainer. But I think it's important to just address. So if you have any points on that, I'd love to hear them.
It definitely, what you said goes along of individualized. And, if a person out there is listening and you really can't afford a trainer, go for go to a trainer for an hour or two. Make that investment in yourself and learn something. That's when you want to go in and just say, hey, I want to learn as much as I can. I want you to teach me as much as you can in 2 sessions, build me a small program, or give me the guidelines to what I can be doing on my own, because it's not something feasible I can do consistently. That's a way to take it. Just like you're going to class
And
or
you know,
you've gone to college, school, whatever, make sure you're getting everything out of that hour. Because I've gone,
but an important point that you just made did actually just answer the how that I overlooked, is that use the trainer as an education piece, someone to show you things, teach you things. I think you hit the nail on the head, Menchie, because people often, I think, use the personal trainer as, I want a good workout today, or give me a good workout, or I just want to fix this, and they point to a certain area on their body. Show me how to work this. Don't I wouldn't use the personal
agreed.
trainer like that. It's not a good use of your time or your money, and it really, you can find answers to those questions on Google. Um, so yeah, I think that was really important that you said that you should use that personal trainer as a way to get information and learn things in the context of your goals and your body.
Right. You want to set yourself up for success down the road with someone possibly not being there guiding you. How you do that, we got to learn. I've been in the past where I've been in training sessions or I was interning somewhere and I look back and I said, I wish I wrote that down. Or there's some stuff I've retained and I have this and this is why, because of this session. So don't ever go into something saying you're not going to learn anything, or maybe you've done a couple sessions already with a previous trainer and you're like, okay, I know a lot. This next person might teach you something. I think you can learn something from anyone on the face of this earth. So always be open for advice, listening. Maybe you don't agree with it, but you now have a different perspective of that. And it can be very simple. I had a client last Friday that was an athlete in college, knows how to played soccer, all this stuff worked out with a strength coach, been out of it for a while now, and has been having some issues, pain, tightness. And we go in and do a very simple workout, just basically recoaching her biomechanics for different movements. And at the end, she said, oh, this is probably one of the most challenging workouts I've ever done. And I'm standing there kind of like, I didn't know how she was going to take it. And I was like, well, it wasn't really taxing at all, or really high in the cardiovascular. She said, no, you just basically changed what I thought was working out. And now I'm very confused of where I need to be. And I said, that's fine. That happens. Some trainers do that. The in-depth ones where you get kind of down into the real deep biomechanics or metabolic work or the physiology of it can get very confusing. It's okay to be completely out of your element and feel confused. I want to create that system and that challenge for them so they now learn something, come back and say, if I was doing my old ways, I'll be tight, I'll be injured, I don't feel good. But if I do this, better. And we simply did 5 exercises with some warm up. And another
Nice.
kind of way to use a trainer, I might be jumping ahead a little bit, is if you've had injuries. I think that is a big precursor to learning new movements or movements that you possibly thought you already knew. Is if you're feeling any sort of tightness, pain anywhere in the body, or limited movement, I think it's you should find someone, talk to a trainer, talk to a coach online, really try to sort that out before you really dive into one of these men's health or online 12-week programs that could, after 12 weeks, leave you really jacked up in worse off condition, better shape than you started.
And I think one important point about the injury part too is physical therapists are really good at getting people out of pain, but oftentimes they're not the best at assessing the body in motion and figuring out how that um, asymmetry was created in the first place, and then again how to then fix the asymmetry. I'm not at all discrediting personal or physical trainers or physical therapists, excuse me. But I think that's where I would kind of distinguish the two. And whereas physical therapists have a lot of background book expertise and in classroom learning, um, personal trainers are just always learning on the floor with a person, with a sample person, with somebody moving under load. And if you've had 5 years, like I personally have 5 years of experience, 80 to 100 sessions a month. So I've gotten a lot of hours in at seeing the body move in ways it shouldn't and in ways it should, and being able to spot different asymmetries and being able to spot when a muscle's inactive and what someone needs to do to fix an asymmetry. So I think that is a really good point, because also too, um, a lot of clients I come across, or the initial consultation that starts and then it becomes a client, it's always actually become, excuse me, I shouldn't say always, but a lot of the time it is because they had an injury and now they're seeking a personal trainer to help them work out in a safe way so they don't get that injury next time. And it's great because you get someone who's really willing to listen to you and explain things. And I think a lot of the time people actually undervalue the experience of the personal trainer and don't always listen to what they have to say. So it is great when you have somebody who's willing to share the information for all the questions you're asking, but then also listen as well. So um, yeah, I think that's another piece to mention, another point to make. And we're talking about how, why, and when to pick a personal trainer and how to shop for a personal trainer. And I think we kind of covered the ranges of people that would use a personal trainer and how to use the personal trainer, and basically how not to use a personal trainer, right? Like, just don't do the workout of the day. Go do CrossFit. They'll change the workout of the day every time. Um, but when? How about when it's time to pick a personal trainer? We chose, or you said after an injury. I think that's a really good point. If you've already experienced an injury, or you feel kind of the signs and symptoms of something about to be injured and you can't figure out what's going on, it's time to meet with a personal trainer. If you're, I'm sure we can agree that if you're hitting plateaus and not progressing whatsoever, it's probably time to sit down with a personal trainer. You have any other scenarios that you can think of?
I just want to piggyback on the injury or the PT. If you're coming off of physical therapy, whether it be 4 or 6 weeks, I think it's a good idea, and I've heard this from other physical therapists, to kind of bridge the gap back into the world of full movement. Is like your 6 weeks of physical therapy is done, but you should do, couple weeks of personal training or guided workouts, so you're not just jumping back or jumping into nothing again and you're still kind of progressing. Just to piggyback on other times, I would say if you've been on a program for over 16 weeks and it's the same thing, go talk to someone at your local gym, find someone on the floor, find a trainer, ask them a question of what are you changing. If you've been on a program for over a year plus, tomorrow morning, go in and ask for something new, change something up. stuff always has to be changing. This realm of programming gets very complicated for a lot of people, and we're creatures of habits. That's what humans are. So to get on a one program and do it for years over years over years, it's not going to benefit you the way you think it is, nor is it going to benefit your brain the way you think it is. Always got to be changing and adapting. That'd be another scenario. Or just if you're new to a gym, find a trainer, ask them questions, how to use machines, what machines are good, what do you recommend, what don't you recommend. A lot of times if new people walk into gyms, they're kind of intimidated. They've never been in this environment before, where a lot of the other people who've been members possibly for a while are kind of in their habits, in their groove. People are moving around left and right. Sometimes people are just too intimidated. Talk to a trainer. They can help you out. They'll kind of break the barrier down of what you know or don't know. Another one is classes. I have had a couple clients just do classes, some good, some bad, but there's always a difference between coaches and training. So change up the stimulus every once in a while. If you're a class person, jump in and do a solo session and slow some stuff down and learn some different stuff that when you go back to the class, you can take what you now learn, apply it one step closer to your goal.
Yeah, pretty much covered it all.
And there's probably tons of scenarios out there. Everyone's got a different scenario. I'm just kind of naming the big ones that probably we've seen.
Same. And I'm trying to
time
think
over time.
I'm also trying to make sure I don't forget any scenarios that it's time to use a personal trainer and most people actually chose to just try something on their own. I think that was a really important one about post injury and post physical therapy. I think right after an injury, it's going to set you apart so far from that injury. If you spent the next 2 weeks through guided workouts and just had like a personal trainer for just 2 weeks, then you went back to doing your stuff on your own, they're going to just clean up your movement patterns. They're going to set you up for success and send you off on your way. I guess with the time we have left, we can talk a little bit about how to shop for a trainer.
That's where I was kind of going to go next. Kind of with a scenario, I want to blend with a scenario. Another one of going in, if you don't know people or you have friends in, talk to people in the gym, get a feel for each individual trainer, because you and I both know every trainer is a little bit different. We all might kind of fall into certain areas and certain camps, but we all offer different avenues and different talents. Talk to other people on the floor that might have an idea of who to work with, or they might have a trainer and be like, hey, go see this person. He's really good at that. Or I did a comp session with so-and-so, but I didn't buy because I couldn't afford or whatever, but their quality is really good. So that's another good way for people to kind of shop around and get a feel without not going trainer to trainer and just kind of berating them with questions.
Yeah, you can
use your outside network
another
of people.
Good way to get the outside network too is just going to the training department's manager and just telling them what you're looking for. Tell them what your goals are, your exercise history, and ask them if they can set you up with an assessment or set you up with someone who they think would be a good fit. Meet the person, and then agree to maybe one session or a package of 3 or 4 sessions, right? To just dip your toes in the water and see if it's for you and see what you like and don't like. And if there are things that you like, but you yourself just physically don't like it or don't enjoy it because you're going to have to get over that hump, then that's a little different than it being a bad fit for a personal trainer. So make sure you're assessing those two a little differently, because there definitely are the trainers out there who are just going to try to appease those first people that come through their door because they don't want to offend you or scare you away, because we do see those people who we tell them like, oh, I want to get long, I want to get stronger, I want to get bigger. Like, okay, well, we need to strengthen your legs. We're going to start with squats today. And they're like, well, I hate squats. I hate this trainer now. I'm going to find a new trainer. So, make sure you can kind of distinguish between the two a little bit. And there should be like a trainer bio of every trainer at a gym. So that's a good place to start as well. But then also too, when you talk to these people, just be honest. Just let them know, like, yeah, honestly, I'm looking for a personal trainer. I haven't made a decision yet. I'm still shopping around and I just want to get to know everybody here and see what my offers are or see what my options are. And that's a great way to start to break the ice and open up the line of communication and just, you'll get a little elevator pitch. Be warned, you'll get a little elevator pitch, but that's good. You should get a little pitch from somebody. That's how you know that they're good at what they do. And it shouldn't be more than like a minute, 2 minutes of telling you, well, this is what I could do for you. This is what I do here. Da, da, da. And, what are you looking for? And oftentimes kind of the best trainers are the ones who are going to be asking you more questions than you're asking them. So I think that kind of sums up everything I got to say about shopping for a personal trainer. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I think you're right on. Make sure that trainer's a listener, that they're going to listen to you and not just be quick to fire rapid solutions, but really listen to your cause. And everything else you said is right where you want to be to find the best suitable person that's going to kind of go with you. And sometimes it's okay to have a little bit clashes with personalities in that realm. And if you're the person who doesn't like to squat, I feel bad for you, because I know everyone's got to squat at some point. It is the best exercise you can do. So sorry, whoever says that or is listening and you don't like to squat, you got to do it.
Yeah. All right, that wraps us up this week. So we're going to stay for after hours. Yeah, I think it was interesting as I was going through this because I was thinking of example clients from both Equinox and Excel, and I feel like we should have mentioned that little caveat. Is this is based upon the people that we've come across, and because I definitely feel like we're very general, and I think that can actually be a negative. I think we probably should have been a little bit more specific to maybe picking a client and what they were looking for and being like yes or no, ready for a personal trainer, because we never really mentioned times that it's times that you don't need a personal trainer. But I think that kind of goes without saying, since this is a fitness podcast, that we're going to be talking more about when it's time to have a personal trainer versus people needing it versus not needing it. I just didn't want people to think that like, oh, of course they're going to promote personal training. Like, well, yeah,
Right.
but we're also just making sure people use the trainer in the right way. People get
Correct.
they find the trainer that's right for them. So hopefully that's echoed through in what we're saying. And
Studies have shown that working not alone with a personal trainer, working with a personal trainer, you get better results, but just working with someone who just is not necessarily your friend, but telling you or guiding you what to do can actually have very positive outcomes. So even look at us. I think even personal trainers can use a personal trainer.
totally.
There's mentors, there's other people that, or you've come in and say, hey, we're doing this program. I'm like, let's do it. You take me through it. So it's the same thing as you might have said this is if I'm not really good at doing my taxes, I'm probably going to like get it someone who does taxes or a personal accountant to do them.
That's
Right? Everyone can use a personal accountant. Not everyone can afford one, but everyone could absolutely use one because they're going to guide you in the right direction and have your best interest. I think it's the same exact thing with personal trainers. and personal training.
Now I feel like there's a point that I want that we should have made that I didn't mention that we didn't mention, and you hit the fucking nail on the head because you know what? I didn't think of it because every time I've used a personal trainer, it's like a friend and or a coworker. I'm like asking them a question or asking them to show me something. But you're so right. It's like for you, I would come up to you, and even just now, we had a phone call before we started this podcast, and we're having questions about. I'm asking you questions about programming for asymmetries in a baseball athlete. So you're so right about that point, and I wish we had mentioned that because I think that would help show people like everybody does use a personal trainer on and off at different times. Because I today in this week and last week there's a Olympic lifter at my gym, personal trainer, and he's a fucking tank. This kid can, he's not a kid, but he can front squat more than he can back squat, like 450. Um, and I'm showing him my video and asking him for tips. So I think that's a really good point, and it almost comes back to like the basic understanding of human culture that nobody's better than anyone else, and we can all learn from each other. So um, I just love how I know that maybe wasn't mentioned, but we have our after hours. But I love how our podcasts always kind of stem back to like a foundational piece about life in general. So that's a really good point.
Always comes full circle. We as humans we can't survive without socialization or other people. That's what we need. So you just can't be afraid. You can't be afraid to ask for help. You can't be afraid to ask for assistance or guidance. It's okay not to know certain things. We're here to help. And I think I'd probably give out more. I don't know, people probably think it's useless information, but I give out tons of information daily. And I could sit here and literally talk for hours about science or about programming, lifting. And sometimes I feel bad for my clients or people I've mentored. If I say, if I'm going too much and you're completely confused, just stop me because I can keep going. And then on their end, they'll say, oh, I feel bad for keep bothering you asking questions. I'm like, no, because the more you ask, the more you learn, the better you become. Even if you learn one thing from me, one thing in an hour, you're probably not gonna forget that. You're gonna take it the next time that scenario situation comes up. You're gonna be like, oh well, this is what Eric said, and this is what I'm gonna do. Boom. And now I've just influenced a decision. I'm not present, but if I can start influencing more decisions from other people, making the right decision, I think I'm making an impact in the rest of the world. And I think that's my end goal.
Yep, absolutely. That's why the spoiler alert. That's why the little products I've been thinking about making and putting little quotes on are what they are. Like I want it to be something that will be will trickle to that effect, that profound effect that we're looking for, but be something so minor, but just that little reminder.
Sometimes that's all people need is a reminder, something there to remind you of a point. You heard this, let's do that. Align that where you want to be and go do it.
Well, I think there's no better way to ending the podcast today than right there.